Our Wednesday night tradition to start our agenda out at Penfolds McGill Estates, cellar door, with the two men under which we gather, the Premier of the State and the Chief Executive of the AFL, Peter Malinauskas and Andrew Dillon. Great to have you both with us back on 360. Premier, you are a man who has a reputation of being able to get it done, but I will say in the past couple of hours, your capacity to clear the clouds and the rain and have the sun perfectly set for this function tonight, I'm impressed.
No, I've been worried about the weather over the course of the last few days. It's going to be magic at the beginning of next week, but I think we're going to get a little bit of traditional footy weather over the weekend, but also some rays of sunshine, so something for everybody.
What's the feel in the build-up, Andrew? As we know, for a couple of weeks there'd been hesitancy in the community around what was expected and petrol prices and cost of living. What's your sense, particularly in the way tickets have moved?
Yeah, look, there has been that little bit of hesitation, Jared, but the great thing is, and what we're seeing is people, flocking over the borders, whether they're coming in by planes or making the road trips across. So, the Premier will talk about it a bit later, but I think, the hotel occupancy's up and we're seeing such strong demand for tickets. And if my emails and text messages are anything to go by, I think we're going to have plenty of sellouts and lots of big crowds.
So give us that sense, Premier, and what you're able to measure. What's the caravan like arriving here this year?
I'll be honest with you, Jared, I was worried a couple of weeks ago. The cost of driving across the border has escalated pretty substantially, and that's a significant outlay for someone. But it's really interesting. We saw a couple of weeks ago some occupancy numbers drop, and then they've all been completely replaced, plus some. So more hotel rooms have been booked over the course of the weekend than what was true last year, and that was obviously a record. And we're also seeing the same in terms of the numbers that we can measure for airport arrivals. And the other metric that obviously we both share is ticket sales, which are up year on year. So all directions are pointing to this being potentially even bigger than last year, which is hard for me to get my head around given some of the complexities around the place. But you can feel the anticipation. And as soon as the first ball bounces tomorrow night, it'll be all about the footy, and there's some cracking games, which, I'm really looking forward to watching if I get the chance.
We all are. There's no question about that. And one of the big questions that needs to be answered by probably the end of Gather Round, Andrew, is whether South Australia and Adelaide are going to sign a long-term deal. I'm wondering, do you look at the wine list early to find out whether or not they're trying to woo you, or how do we know where it sits at the minute?
Yeah, I've been told just to stick to the mineral waters tonight because he's got some tactics I understand. But look, I've been asked this a few times today, and look, South Australians are putting their best foot forward. You've got the incredible Adelaide Oval, which is the centrepiece of Gather Round, and as I said, you see the number of people that are coming across and the people from South Australia who are embracing Gather Round. It's hard not to like what we're seeing, and the best thing also is that, as we've gone through to our fourth edition, continuing to innovate and making sure that there's things for everyone, whether it's the footy festival across the road from Adelaide Oval or the Norwood Food and Wine Festival out at the Barossa again this year, which leaves also an incredible legacy for local footy out in the Barossa as well.
You always get the best result when it's a competitive bidding process, Premier. Do you think you're up against someone else, or have you got the whip hand here?
I think we're in the box seat, but there's work to be done. And if you're going to do something properly, you've got to make sure you do it thoroughly. And from mine, we've got to put some on the table, some innovations to make sure Gather Round stays fresh year in, year out. And we've put some ideas to the AFL over the course of the last week. That requires a bit of effort and a bit of work to make sure we can pull it off. But make no mistake, and I'm very comfortable in saying this, if South Australia is fortunate enough to be able to get an extension for the Gather Round contract, I can guarantee next year you're going to see some things that are very different that you haven't seen in the first 4 iterations of Gather Round, because we believe there is growth in this concept. There is something very unique about it, and I think there's more we can do to bring it to life without doing anything to compromise its authenticity and the grassroots nature of the way people come together. So we've got some big plans for it. It's just a matter of whether or not we can nut out some of the finer details and get a deal across the line.
I can see a handball competition at halftime on Sunday's game, out in the middle, crowd roaring, 5 years for the bullseye, 10 years if you miss the board. Here's this how it's going to land.
That big, Jared?
Yeah.
I think we
that worked with Gil, but he's a bit better than Gil on his left hand. So
that'll get we like the sound of that, Premier. Is the McLaren Vale part of these ongoing plans?
You'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. That's in the hands of Andrew and the Commission. If they give us the chance, there's a few things that are on the table.
That's a yes. What else do you want to
I'll
ask?
take that as a yes. Are we finished with Gather Round? You're going to move on to more pressing issues?
I am interested, Premier, just the pilgrimage across the border. And Border Town is such a fixture of that and the way that it's all decked out. So just the whole of state push for it just gives us an encapsulation of that.
Yeah. Look, the people that have brought this to life, more than everyone who travels here from around the country, but particularly from Victoria, are other South Australians putting in their best efforts, whether it be in the southeast of the state and Border Town, Keith, other regional communities who are just embracing everything that we love about living in this beautiful part of our country. And we get to put it on show. Gather Round gives us that platform, and I just can't thank everyone in the state enough for making it worthwhile for people to make the journey across. And if we get the chance, we'll keep it up. But a shout out to everyone in Border Town and other communities who make that journey a little bit unique and special. A lot of people are doing it, notwithstanding the petrol prices, and I can't thank them all enough.
And there's lots to be excited about, Andrew, and the footy's going to be great. We had Ebony Marinoff in here yesterday, or last night rather, and we talked about the prospect of maybe an AFLW Origin game, maybe one that involves the Irish contingent. Is that something that you are seriously considering, either next year for Gather Round or at some stage on the footy calendar?
Yeah, look, Gaz, absolutely. We're looking at how we get our best AFLW players on the ground at the same time. So whether that's a state of origin type, like which we had earlier this year for the men, or Australia v Ireland, which I think playing Australian rules footy would be an incredibly close game and would be an amazing spectacle. So that's certainly on the horizon for us with AFLW, and Laura Kane and her team are leading those discussions at the moment with the playing group just to find the right time in the calendar for a game like that. But I think there's certainly an appetite, as we saw with the men earlier this year between WA and Victoria, where we saw that huge crowd at Optus Stadium.
Premier, you have laid claim to a future Origin game already in South Australia. What about the women's side of things? Would you like to see the women's game represented at a future Gather Round?
Yeah, absolutely. And women's footy in South Australia, I think, really punches above its weight. You've seen the performance of the Crows being a pretty consistent top performer, and then, of course, Port coming along nicely in the last couple of years. So I think there's great merit for it. I love the state of origin concept. To see it coming back this year, just as a footy fan, I think it was brilliant. And I think to do that for both women and men should be something shared across jurisdictions, and this provides a platform for the women in particular, and why wouldn't we pursue it, particularly given the time of the year?
It's a few layers to this week, Premier. One of those is the charity partner. It's your second year on this front with the Women's and Children's Hospital Foundation. And what was raised last year, I think you were able to speak to today and show the people what's the good that's been done.
Yeah, it was awesome, Jared. Like, we were there today with young kids going through a bit of a difficult time, and they've got this magnificent new playground that is, and all in a pretty difficult environment to build one, I've got to say, which comes at a cost. And that's only there because of Gather Round. So, this transcends just the economics, which are obviously very important and a good time. It's actually giving back to the community, and that you can feel that in everything about the way Gather Round operates. So that was great today, and it was always a privilege to see some of the players bring smiles to the kids' faces way more than Andrew and I were.
And another addition is the run for your club Saturday morning. Dills, you're going to do the 4K? You're going to get out there?
I was all set to get registered to run it, Gaz, but unfortunately I've got a conflicting appointment. We've got actually a big breakfast with all of our First Nations players. So if not for that pressing engagement, I'd certainly be out there bringing up the rear of the field, I reckon.
Well, Premier, are you getting in the shorts and the runners and doing the 4K? And if so, what time can we hold you to?
4Ks. I'm trying to stay below sub-minute, 5-minute Ks at the moment, which for a giraffe runner like me, that's probably as good as it gets. We'll wait and see if I get out there on Saturday morning.
All right. We know you're a man who can get a deal done. Just maybe Dills could just cover his ears here for a tick. What can you do, Premier, to keep Zach Butters at your footy club in this state?
Gee. Close the border. Whatever it takes.
It might need that. Jared, it might need that. There's 114 million coming into the state. That's what it's been reported. You might be able to divert some of that, Premier.
Look, I hope we get a lick of that. No, look, the boys... Look, Port, if we could get a win on every win we can get, and St Kilda on Sunday night would be a good start. That just helps our chances. But, look, the guy's a gun and a star. It's impossible not to love him. I wish him all the best for his future, but I desperately hope it's at the Port Adelaide Footy Club. He's the captain, so hopefully that's, for the time being anyway, so hopefully that's another feather in his cap that is a source of inspiration for staying here.
Terrific. Oh, yeah, that's popular here in the room, Premier. That's popular here in the room. So just as you leave us, Premier, you have built such a suite of sporting events for this state as we were here for one of the best test matches that's been staged on these shores. You've got ambitions for a World Cup cricket final, which would be quite a coup if you could get that away from the MCG. You've announced your intentions for Origin and the like. You've grabbed the MotoGP and made it something, I think, frankly, more than it's ever been in Victoria. How do you covet the national title as the sporting capital?
Yes, but I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. Look, Melbourne's obviously got that title and they deserve it. There are some amazing things that Melbourne does well that truly only Melbourne can do. I guess I'm more interested in about South Australia having its own position in the market, and what we do is so good, Jared, that it inspires people to get on a plane to come and enjoy it and then enjoy it again the following year. And I think between Live Golf, Gather Round, the Supercars Grand Final, now MotoGP, what we've got with the Tour Down Under, a test match that is truly different from the other four around the country, I think we've got a suite of events there that stand on their own 2 feet, give us the platform to tell the economic story that South Australia is now enjoying, without, it being at the expense of anybody else. So we just love Victorians and anybody else that's willing to travel here for these events, and we'll make sure we keep putting on a good show for as long as we get the chance to do so.
Don't give up on that F1 season ender, Premier. There's a kernel of an idea there that over the course of the year you'll already have a track set up. Don't give up on that as an idea.
We're always open for discussion. You wouldn't believe it. So I reached out to the CEO of F1, and I'm on the phone to the CEO of F1, and it turns out he was standing next to Eddie Maguire at the same time. I was like, well, that's going to get out. And sure enough, it did. So we'll wait and see.
Always great to have you both with us on this night. Enjoy the week ahead, and thanks for staging Gather Round number 4.